Hey there. I just wanted to quickly get on here and say to give you your Saturday, August the 5th reminder that if there's someone in your life that you are never good enough for, chances are it's not personal. I saw a post yesterday on Twitter, or what do they call it now? X or something like that. Um, and I think it was Aja Monet posted something about how for some people you will never be enough. And yeah, that's absolutely true. And what I wanted to get on here and quickly say is to connect that with shame. So this is going to be called shame and not enoughness. So I saw a tweet last night or yesterday that was from Aja Monet, and it said something about how for some people, excuse me, it's Saturday. Yeah, it's Saturday morning. Um, for you go for some people you will never be enough, and life as well as my own work around studying shame in the literature, paying attention. I did autoethnography, so I studied myself, I studied other people in and around me. What it all showed me, it taught me that these types of people, and myself included, I hate when people get online and they act as if the messages they're giving the people is also not for them. And so I feel like sometimes we create this distance between advice that we give other people, and we distance ourselves from it as if we don't need to hear the message either, or as if we are not these people. When I talk about these people, this is myself included, okay? These people are usually not enough for themselves. Like if you find that someone is in your life who nothing you do impresses them. I was watching something recently. I don't remember. I've been binge watching so much. I don't even remember what it was. But I think it was. I don't remember what it was. But they used the Shania Twain line of like, "I'm not impressed," right? Like that don't impress me much. That was my PhD anthem, because supervisors in when you're doing a PhD, that is your anthem. Like nothing impresses them. Nothing is ever good enough for them. Meanwhile, they're also just as mediocre, if not more mediocre. And so these types of people, myself included, we're not enough for ourselves. We struggle with thinking that we are enough for ourselves. There's a lot of shame, and usually I'm talking about type A perfectionist types that are in denial about shame. Those who act like they've never felt shame in their entire life, they don't deal with shame, they're not in shame. Me, shame, don't know her. Meanwhile, they're completely insecure. Their relationships with others show that they're not content with themselves inwardly, and that's that again, self drag. So when you don't feel enough, or when someone triggers insecurity in you, or they have shamed you before, or they make you feel shame, seeing them as enough will always cause you to feel more shame. And we have to don't forget that shame is painful, right? So if there's somebody in your life who, if you have shamed somebody, or you perpetually shame somebody, or you call them out, or just your existence makes them insecure or triggers some sort of shame, don't ever sit there waiting for them to think that you're enough. Don't ever wait for their validation, because you will never get it. And it's not personal. It is by design. It's how emotions work. It's how psychology, the mind works. You're not going, even if they see you, even if they actually think you're doing great work, even if they'll never tell you, and they may think that like you're doing great, don't wait for a validation. Because they will always need to position you as beneath them so that they feel less ashamed, right? Nothing you do will ever be good enough for them. And it's because you being enough for them will make them feel this intense level of shame that they refuse to feel or even act like is existing, right? And so I study this pattern in myself as well as other people. And some of the most insecure people, myself included, usually if you hear how we talk about ourselves, the level of perfectionism we expect from ourselves, we're so hard on ourselves, we're nasty with ourselves, and that will show in how we treat other people, right? You expect this level of perfectionism. We're always hard on other people. Somebody recently called me out on lecturing them. That's what's going to happen, right? You're expecting this level of perfectionism that you are not getting from yourself, that you wish you had from yourself. And then now you start looking at other people, expecting them to be that same level of perfect, that same level of enough that you don't even feel for yourself in the first place. These types of dynamics play out in parent-child dynamics. I've had, growing up, I've always felt like I was never enough for my parents. And then I would go to their educator. So I would go to one of their schools, and then all the teachers would be like, oh, so and so talks about you all the time. And I'm like, what? She does? Or they do? I'm talking, they would never let me know. They would never give you that satisfaction, that validation. But meanwhile, they're going around telling people how proud they are of you. Same with student-teacher dynamics, sibling dynamics, right? You will never be enough for certain siblings. Nothing you do will ever impress them. Same with friends. Romantic partners, right? You can date somebody, be married to them, and it does not matter how much you do, how many backflips, hoops you jump through, you will never be enough for this person because it's not about you. It is about them not feeling enough for themselves. Employer and employee dynamics, strangers, these happens all over. And so that's all I wanted to get on here and quickly say is if you find that you're always trying to impress somebody, get validation from them, waiting for them to think that you're enough, it's probably, chances are it's not going to happen. And it might not happen until they themselves do their inner work to feel more secure within themselves, to finally figure out that they've always been enough. And then they might be able to extend you some sort of grace. Then it might hurt them less to acknowledge that you're doing something amazing, that you are a beautiful person, that you are lovely, X, Y, and Z. But otherwise, until they get to that point within themselves, which might never work. And the reason why you're not going to get that is because they don't see a problem. They don't think that they're a problem. They think they're perfect more times, right? They can't see any flaws in themselves because it brings them shame. I've been there. I'm still there, right? When you have a hard time with accountability, when you cannot apologize, when you cannot say, I'm sorry, when you can't look at any of your flaws, you can't hear anything negative, critique anything bad about yourself, how are you ever going to extend grace for somebody else? Because you think you're perfect. And so you're going to expect perfectionism for other people. Perfectionism is a conversation of shame. Validation, we're talking about shame. Not enough is literally the definition of shame. Right? You don't think you're enough. The couple episodes ago, I talked about how shame is if you deviate from the societal norms. That's society saying you're not enough, right? And not enough equals shame. Anytime you hear somebody talk about not enough, we're talking about shame. And so that's all I wanted to get on here and say. Okay, have a good Saturday.